Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Asian Regional Qualifiers for IESF WEC 24 Riyadh. Me, Arashi, out of nowhere, back with Mirko. Hopefully, nice to be with yourself. Small break and a banger of a match. How do you feel about the happening so far, Mirko?
I feel very great, man. I feel good as usual, man. Every single time people ask me how I feel about these matches, I just gotta say great because especially this time, we got our first full best of three. We've been waiting for this moment ever since even the African regional qualifiers. And in the African regional qualifiers, everything went in to a full sweep even until the very end. Luckily, we finally get, that full best of three. And what better of a match than the previous match, Cambodia versus Myanmar, to take us all the way to 3 games. Some close games, some crazy tactics being shown as well, some crazy drafts as well. And man, I'm very excited to watch and to cast for the next match, Indonesia versus Malaysia, because Indonesia-Malaysia, this is personally my highlight match of the day.
Oh, fun stuff, man. I mean, for us personally, there's stakes as well, so we're gonna stay professional, of course, always. But there's some stakes here, man. We have a lot on the line here, and we're expecting the best out of the best in our own region, actually. So we'll have to see, especially with the changes. A lot of people have said that if you're already on top, it's hard to kind of be as adaptive. Usually you want to be a bit more consistent when you're on top. So we'll have to see that for Indonesia right now. Can they have that adaptability with the changes, massive changes when it comes to items and the quote-unquote meta as well?
It's not just that, right? For them, technically, they also have Albert in the jungle, so not their usual jungler that they have in their normal team. Same goes for Malaysia, though. Team Malaysia, this is SRG, but with a new mix, right? Technically, Gojes is already part of that team, but main lineup, it's usually Cram, and in the gold lane, it's usually Innocent. So the fact that for Malaysia, they have 2 changes, and for Indonesia, they have 1. I'm definitely going to be very interested to see how that dynamic plays into this match, right? Because these teams are great, sure, but how different are they going to play compared to their normal selves now that it's technically full Malaysia, full Indonesia? Because for Indonesia, at least, we technically already have the data. We know that for Indonesia, with Albert, they're playing to, I would say, a pretty similar level to usually, back when they used Kyrie, especially in the qualifiers to actually represent Indonesia in IESF 2024. So here it is, the match card.
Up next, man, Malaysia versus Indonesia. So we have to see. Like we mentioned, it's already a different situation altogether. Now, I think we are really looking forward to the small changes, right? I think we are already past the bigger changes with the roster, with the different players, different strategies. But the micro adjustments right here, especially knowing that there's a lot of data for both these teams, both are very notorious for actually doing very well in scrims, even with the other teams. A lot of coaches we talk to always talk about this Malaysian team, Malaysian roster being quite deadly as well.
Yeah, and here it is, the lineups. I think for Malaysia, we're going to introduce them first. Yums, Stormy, Skies, Gojes, and Lolios. I think for Stormy as well, and I think for every single one of these players except for Yums, this is going to be the first time ever representing their country in an international tournament, right? So that's going to be very, very cool for them. But they will have a little bit of a lack of experience compared to Team Indonesia, right? Yums, he's been here for the longest time. I believe he was with Todak last time around in IESF 2022. That was what I remember back when we were casting as well for the main stage, Arashi.
Oh, yeah. Wow, what a throwback. But yes, an absolute veteran. Yums, been here, done almost everything at this point. But as you mentioned, Mirko, the lack of experience, that is something that is definitely very important, can be understated. So for sure, they have preparation, but up against them today, the roster for Indonesia, Boots, Albert, CW, Sans, and Keyboy. Wait a minute.
It's interesting.
Wait a minute.
Wait, that is very interesting, right? We thought it's definitely going to be Lutfi there, the main XP lane for Team Indonesia, for Team Fnatic Onyx, the team that is going to be representing Indonesia. But I don't know if this is going to be a mistake. Maybe in the game it'll be Lutfi, or maybe they actually are going to try out Boots here. It's been a long time since we have seen Boots, play. I think the last time was in the regular season of MPLID, and that's a long time ago. We're already almost like 3 weeks away from the playoffs itself. So the regular season, that was pre-patch. That was all the way back when the game was just so different. Very interesting stuff, man. But still, yeah, it's going to be CW, Sans, and Keyboy. Those are the three players that will just not change. That trio mid, technically, the duo mid and the gold lane.
We're talking a bit earlier about, of course, Albert. That's the name that always comes into play whenever we're talking about this roster when it comes to the international events, right? He doesn't really show up in the regular season, so this is where he gets to really show off his skills. Because by all means, even though he's not in the main roster, he's still a very proficient player. There is a reason why Fnatic Onyx picked him up here, and we'll have to see what changes here. We thought it's only going to be Albert, but with even Boots coming back in the mix, I think they must have some kind of play, some kind of strategy in mind here.
Yeah, it might be one of those, moments where they want to actually save their strat for later on. But honestly, now it's a group stage, and up against Malaysia, I don't think you can really, go up against Malaysia with a saved strat. I think Boots is already still really good, though, right? We're talking a whole lot about Lutpi. He's an amazing XP laner. He's been better than Boots, at least in MPLID, but who's to say that Boots hasn't, improved himself as well? Based on the break, on the scrims as well, maybe he's been able to improve to a level that is even higher than Lutpi now.
Oh.
It would be very interesting if we see, a new Boots coming out of the hyperbolic time chamber, right? After all this time of not playing, after him being kind of a pseudo coach for the team for the longest time, maybe he's taken that coach role a bit too seriously. Now he's got that macro brain to take control of the game, but it does seem like we are going to be seeing a little bit of the draft. All right, this is the previous match draft still, Myanmar and Cambodia. I guess we get a reference here, right, Arashi, as to what we might see later for Indonesia, Malaysia.
I think for me, right, I'm biased as a mid laner, you know this, but I'm seeing a lot of mages. I guess the changes to the glowing one makes it just such a versatile item. It just brings so much value for so little cost comparatively, because it combined the benefit of two different items, and not to mention the new item, the wishing the wishing lantern there just adds so much more burst damage, more versatility to the longer ranges, and not so much for the short range fighters. So I've been noticing that a lot. So I fully expect a lot more like front to back compositions here, because that's where these mages can really get to do their best work.
I'm actually expecting more assassins to come through, right? So me and Naisu, we've been talking about how, sure, the mage items have been buffed. Technically, we got some new items in the mage position that it can be utilized really well. Technically, even the Sky Piercer could be utilized as burst, right? But for some of these mages, but I'm looking at these assassins, and it's going to be really tough to play these vulnerable mid lanes, I feel, right now. Like the Novarias, the Farsas as well, especially if the Ling is left open, if the Hayabusa is left open. These two picks, the Ling we have seen just yesterday from Team Indonesia as well, but from MLBB Women's, we saw Vival pop off on that Ling, obliterating any sort of backline that the opposing team had. It was up against Brunei Darussalam, and their backline just definitely didn't have a good day at all. Definitely didn't have a good matchup against that Ling, and that's something that we have to talk about when we're talking about Skies and Albert. Both these junglers are known for their assassins as well. Skies, I think, more towards the Fanny, but Albert definitely that Ling.
Well, he has been notorious as the best Ling in Indonesia for a long time before Kyrie showed up and technically took away the title from him. So I think for sure, the assassins are a lot more prevalent right now, and the backlines are a lot more vulnerable. But teams can draft around it, right? That's what makes this so interesting right now. Because now with the assassins more viable, even if you want to go for a front to back, it has to be calculated. And even if you want to go for a full-on dive comp, there's still considerations here about how you want to really craft something around the potential of diving in, but still dealing with an assassin on the enemy team that can still do great work, still farm a very healthy amount. Like we saw earlier in the match between Cambodia and Myanmar, even though you're behind and your team isn't really having the advantage, you can still farm up and still be a relevant threat in the game if you're left alone to your own devices.
And I think if we go back to the point of to the rosters, right? The fact that Boots is playing, does that mean we're going to be seeing more of the Terizlas, the Lapu Lapus come up and show up in the XP over the usual Lutpi picks that we've gotten accustomed to in the MPLID, right? He's been playing a lot of the carries like the CC, the Mashas as well. Some of these damage dealers on top of just the playmakers that he usually goes for. Even the Paquito. We haven't seen a single Paquito game, not a single Benedetta game, all throughout the Asian regional qualifiers and even in the African regional qualifiers. We've seen the Benedetta, but not the Paquito. Oh, drafts. All right.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, the drafting phase for the first game between Malaysia and Indonesia. And you're seeing a lot of familiar faces here. The Moskov coming in, the Loyi as well. But to no one's surprise here, the Khedira, always respected from Sans. We just saw it earlier in the first match, and man, in the hands of Sans, that Khedira is equally threatening, and he won't be making an appearance now on that Khedira, but we'll see. On that Lo Yi, is it going to be more of a macro approach here from Indonesia?
And by the way, Arashi, so we got to confirm. So it's going to be Lutfi who's playing, not Boots there.
Oh.
At least the name suggests that it's Lutfi. Unless, again, that's like a miss swap. Maybe we swapped in. I don't know. But it looks like it's Lutfi based on the draft right now. And it's going to be a Valentina ban to take away the threat of someone that can take the Primal Wrath and also the diversion. And man, the Edith has been phenomenal. I think today as well, if we don't count game number 2 of Myanmar versus Cambodia, Edith in Rome or in mid has been pretty okay. It's been pretty good, right? But on NXP, not as much. So still a good flex pick. They're actually going to ban out 2 mid laners here for Stormy, really respecting Stormy in the second phase. And it's going to be the Arlet ban coming in from the side of Malaysia, trying to take away, I guess, that flex potential of the Edith. I guess trying to maybe force the Edith either to roam or to XP.
If they can kind of lock down where the Edith is going to be, that definitely is a big value when it comes to the strategization of the drafts. But Masha here, ban away again, certainly is one of the picks that Onyx was using very well. So it might show up today as well if it's not ban away. Now with the first pick in the second phase for Indonesia though, usually you would think it's going to be the EXP here first, just to, hide that final card for Indonesia a bit longer.
I think now that we're honest, that we're seeing the Masha ban. I think, yeah, by the way, the fact that the Masha hasn't shown up at all, but okay, the Brody does. And okay, Arashi, yesterday, when me and Naisu were casting for some of the games, we saw the Brody ban in the first phase. And I was already talking, I was hyping the Brody up right after the patch. I was saying, all right, Brody's busted. I've been spamming the heck out of Brody. I'm an official SPA, Arashi. You know what that means?
What is that?
I'm an official Sky Piercer abuser, bro, and I play the Brody all the time with the Sky Piercer, man. You get so much base damage already with the Brody. You technically already have an execute mechanic in your kit. On top of that now, Sky Piercer. So you can execute some of these members even harder, and the fact that Malaysia have shown the Moskov so early on, it is going to be a good matchup for the Brody. But there you go, that's an Aurora for Stormy, a signature pick for the man. Though it may look kind of, weird, Stormy plays this a whole lot in MPL Malaysia.
And it can be a great pick to really punish the clumping up. If Indonesia carelessly walk into a diversion, an Aurora can absolutely punish everyone. And it's a great way to really follow up on potentially something like a big wild charge or a penalty zone. So definitely looks weird, but it's still kind of legit. For Indonesia though, you're seeing more flexibility in how they want to take these fights. They can go for longer fights, but they can also go for something a big pick-off. And in team fights, not really a lot of combos, but they do have a lot of crowd control and AoE. So they can hold their own here, depending on how the fights really do start, get started. As they pick up an Exborg as well, more damage, a great solution to the Terizla as well.
Okay, so the Exborg going to be going to XP, and it seems for the Edith, it should be, on the hands of Keyboy. There we go. We get to see the swaps as well as we get ready to jump into the Land of Dawn. But Arashi, you're the analyst here. I got to ask you, based on the draft, what do you think? Especially after the patch changes, right? Do you think Indonesia have adjusted to the patch better, or do you think that Roger Jungle is going to be too much for Indonesia?
I think, honestly, Roger Jungle is... it works differently now due to the changes, the patch, of course, but in a way it's something a bit more familiar. And now for Indonesia, I think the fact that they have solid front line and then have a lot more AoE and potential, usually whenever we see this roster with something this flexible, even though maybe they initially can be overwhelmed or they can start losing in some kind of fight, some kind of pickup potential, they can eventually recover and adapt. So I gotta kind of favor them in my predictions here, Indonesia.
All right. Seems we're just going to jump straight into game number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia takes on Malaysia. Type in the live chat right now who you guys think is going to win. Hashtag Indonesia win or Malaysia win in the comment section down below as we get to see the jungle. Albert versus Skies. Roger versus Fredrin. Also, Temporal Rain for Albert. Whoa, interesting. The new emblem on the Fredrin. We don't get to see this a lot, by the way.
Temporal Rain. Having a shorter, like a cooldown reduction effect on your skills when you use your ultimate. I guess he's intending to spam it out while farming in the jungle. Fredrins do that. But we'll have to see how effective this is, because it takes away from some of his combat potential, especially pre-level 4. But Keyboy, as you can see, already diligently protecting the jungle, making sure that so far no real big plays are happening. But especially with the low Yi, I expect Indonesia to really start ramping up the aggression, particularly right now.
And I love the fact that right now, oh, that's an onward by Keyboy, just doing some damage over to Yums there, poking him down. But I like the fact that a lot of the fighters in the XP lane, they're just going for Impure Rage now over the Brave Smite. I think it's because of the change to the War Axe. Now you technically have the Bloodlust Axe built in already, so you already get the sustain from the War Axe, right? So you can just go for even more sustain with the Impure Rage if you don't have mana, but if you have mana, then you can just stay in lane a lot more while also using your abilities to get the War Axe sustain off.
Yeah, the sustain coming in from the War Axe makes that item, in the same way the Glowing Wand is just so valuable right now for the mid lane, that War Axe now is just so good. I was expecting a lot more fighters to show up, but Lutpi now getting focused down by Stormy, who rotates, but now you can see the follow-up coming in, and whoever clears the way faster here will get level 4, and that will be Malaysia for now. But you can see that for both teams, they're taking this very slow. They don't want to be the first main aggressor to get punished. But here now, the big value from Indonesia really shows the fact that their jungler is a fighter that can't be zoned as easily. But look at this, Stormy.
Stormy goes in for stun. Good purify from Sans. Getting out of it now as Yums cannot go for the wild charge. Not just yet. Is still level 3. Hovering over, but finally gets level 4. As Keyboy now looks forward. Wild charge and Afflictor combo into the back with the penalty zone as well. And lock Lippy down. But Keyboy does the same with the Earth Shatter and the onward. As that's going to be the Praisers Rapid. Gorgeous wins out the retry battle. It's not the jungler. It's the XP laner. Gorgeous though will fall and Yums will be forced back. It's a 1-for-1 trade and Keyboy wants to make it 2-for-1. But in the end, it's a win for Team Malaysia early.
Wow, it's just how we expected, man. Indonesia and Malaysia, there is always going to be fireworks, gonna be chaos. At first turtle take, usually we see something a bit more disciplined for these rosters, but when it comes down to it, it was just an all-out brawl. And like you mentioned, Miracle CW with the sky-piercing abuse coming in.
That's an SPA right there. CW, he's just like me, you know, he loves to abuse that Sky Pierce, so we got a replay.
That's this turtle fight right here where Malaysia just barreled through and they're kind of holding back Indonesia. And in the midst of everything, Gojes, out of everyone, was the one to secure that turtle. So small win for Malaysia, but overall, it's still a very slow game. But Malaysia is doing a great job just staving off the aggression and the level 2 power spike technically from the low Yi. So we're gonna have to wait a bit longer to see some kind of big play, but Gojes getting roasted here in the lane.
Yeah, forced to recall now as Lutpi gets so much more space to pick up the turret shield. And he'll actually just be going for both. He's letting the minion waves go for the turret shield, getting him down now in the mid lane. It's going to be Keyboy frozen up, and that should be the kill for Skies as he's able to deal with Keyboy just through that stun. And also a Spear of Destruction that's going to be used up just for the damage. He won't teleport there. He'll just stay in lane.
Great play here for Malaysia, picking up a kill. And on the bottom side, you can see the rotations coming in. They're trying to make sure they get as much advantage as possible, especially when they have control over the map before the diversions coming in from Indonesia will start to be an issue. You can see that they respect the potential of ganks as well, because Lolio with the Purify is going to be a lot more difficult to really pick off, even though CW is on the Brody that can facilitate some of these ganks.
Okay, set up for the second turtle now. Lutpi doing the same thing he's been doing to Gojes up top, just roasting him down. But Skies is rotating up top, trying to deal with the Faraga armor. Actually jumps in as the War Axe gets completed by Gojes. Keyboy with Earth Shatter, going to zone Stormy away from this turtle. But look at the barrier there placed down. Albert won't be able to take full aggro on it. Gojes gets taunted up, goes in for the penalty zone, connects on the Lutpi. Their retreat battle, and it's not going to be any of the junglers winning it out. Look at this! Look at the damage coming from Stormy and the CC, as that's going to be him taken down. But Stormy now running away with the passive. Gojes flickering forward to find Lutpi as Keyboy deals with Skies in the Primal Wrath, and CW rotates from the bottom lane, but will give out so much more prio in the bot towards Lolio. Spear of Destruction connecting on the CW as Yums gets taken very low, but is still able to survive, and Lolio decides to go in. That's a stun on the CW, and now with Lycan bounce, they're able to get the kill. CW forced back, and Sans is able to get a few more of these trades on, but in the end, it's an all-out win for Malaysia.
What a great play for Malaysia there. They were able to focus down the targets even more efficiently than Indonesia and still get the global presence play. And look at that though, fight still breaking out all over the place. Lolio coming in with the Spear of Destruction earlier was just an absolute win. He knows his team was still in the fight, was still having the advantage. He joins in and just shuts down CW in that fight as well. And just off screen there, Yums was able to find yet another kill. So it was the turtle taken away. It was the bottom turret taken as well. Malaysia here is pushing on the pace on Indonesia.
Doing a great job so far. Look at the goalie, 2,000 almost to the hands of Malaysia on this composition that honestly, yes, can snowball as well. But you would think, especially with the Moskov, that they would actually wait a bit longer to get that power spike, right? And the Moskov, yeah, it hasn't hit his power spike, not just yet, it's just a corrosion scythe.
I think it's just a great play by them to just use the early game power spike. You can see a Sky Piercer completed for Skies as well on the Roger. So a bit of that execute threat for the members of Indonesia. And as we mentioned, Gorgeous with the War Axe, he was already doing so much damage, being so tanky early on. And right there, steal attempt as Albert tries to retaliate.
Good wild charge to escape. Albert now jumping forward. That's Razor's Wrath dealing a whole lot of damage to Stormy, but he gets frozen down. Penalty zone to lock them down, not really giving Indonesia a chance to take Stormy out. Meanwhile, all in the top lane, you can see Loliel just dealing with the minion waves, now shoving in Albert, looking for a play again onto Yums. That's going to be an onward and an Earth Shatter combo to take him out, and Indonesia finally get a trade that's worthwhile, but it's not going to be worthwhile for long. That's a turret traded up top for the kill on the roamer.
This is just Malaysia using this macro plan so well. The fact that they can send a gold laner to just keep farming again and again and join these fights from so far away is giving them so much more space. And as a result, you can see that Indonesia, they do have damage, but they're struggling to lock down and find pickups, because even the roamer that's supposed to open up the map for the side of Malaysia, it's a Grok that's just so difficult to really lock down. Diversion though from Indonesia, can it pay off?
Yeah, straight into the bottom lane they go. They tried to just get that position, and they will be able to get that over Malaysia. They set up for the turtle again. That's going to be an onward, and the Earth Shatter locking Yums down as Lippy deals with that damage. Oh my god, the dispersion and the rotation almost takes Yums down. Lippy will be able to burn him down to the ground, and that should be a free turtle over to Indonesia, as Malaysia just look to trade on the other side of the map. Moscow still just farming.
It's a great play for Indonesia to just decisively go for it. And if Malaysia obliges, they seem to be in position to go for a fight. But knowing that Loliel is usually a bit further away, penalty zone though from Gorgeous.
Yeah, with the Flicker comboed in together. Now with Spirit Destruction goes in as well. Gorgeous might be caught in sort of our memory as they go for the diversion. And Stormy committed the Flicker as she used the ultimate too, trying to catch some of these members. Indonesia able to bait out some big resources.
The diversion set up inside the bush. Crafty stuff here from Indonesia. But their troubles are still around. They haven't been able to use a lot of these diversion plays because they don't have control over the map overall. Just because Yums has been aggressively contesting vision and information, and Keyboy on the Edith is just not as mobile. Not a lot of ways for him to really escape from a full-on chase. So he's just forced to play a bit more conservatively. And right now, though, you're seeing that possibly the top lane turret might fall right there. Lutpi is one of the only members that can just keep pushing while having a guaranteed way out from a surprise gank from Malaysia.
And so far, no turrets have been taken down by Indonesia. It's still an equal game based on gold, but Malaysia definitely have much more of an advantage coming into the 9th minute of the game. Albert dashing forward, catching Stormy now with the taunt as well. Keyboy going to be able to isolate him with the onward, and the Earth Shatter is timed to perfection. Just to that passive, as now Stormy has been picked off. Yums in the mid lane, tries to walk up, and now gets dispersed, rotated as well, forced to flicker out, and now they're looking to go for this turret in the mid lane. Penalty zone, lock them down, diversion to escape once again, and Indonesia only one member decides to take it, and it's Keyboy to go and take and those resources, those minion waves that have been shoved in by Loliel in the bottom lane.
And that's what you've been seeing from Indonesia, man. They're using these diversions to really match the macro play from Malaysia, not really to initiate their own pickoffs. Sans here though, getting caught by Skies.
Yeah, feeling a bit of damage, but Lippy is able to fend for Sans.
Great play for Malaysia there. Just going for these flanks, knowing that they have control. That is what Indonesia, ironically, need to do as well. When they're able to locate Stormy in the middle of those fights, I think they have to try and do that, unless they want to just go for a fight and allow Stormy to just keep pumping out this damage. That's the mage presence we've been talking about just earlier. With the Lord spawning though, we already talked about the damage, the extra damage that it does now. You can see that Indonesia are very calm about this though. Still going around, still waiting around because they know they have a diversion play available. Take a look at the items. Queen's Wings rush for Lutpi to try and be a bit more relevant, but Albert gets jumped on.
Yeah, they go for the diversion now, but Albert is going to be taken down. The Frigid Glacier, as well as the onward from Keyboy, gets into the Frigid Glacier. Yums will be taken down by that sky-piercing damage of CW as the Primal Wrath gets used up by Keyboy. Now trying to steal some damage on the Gorgeous, and the Torn Apart Memory gets rid of him. That's going to be a stun on the skies, but now with the Lycan Pound, CW will be shut down as Keyboy flickers forward, but is unable to find anyone, and now uses the onward just to disengage. It's a 2 for 2, but it's in favor of Malaysia. Both or all three of their damage dealers are still alive.
All damage dealers alive, but they have no front line. They'll be forced to play a bit more conservatively right here, but no, never mind. They go for Lutpi, but he does have the Firaga. He might get taken out though. Whew.
No, he gets out with the flicker. Almost taken out. Yeah, Loliel is definitely pushing the pace now. And I think at the 11th minute, he already has his power spike as they go straight for the Lord now. Indonesia, they need to try to contest this right now. The goal lead is still 50-50. Stormy, oh, Frigid Glacier going to be baited out. And that's going to be the knockup from the Lord, revealing Yums. Keyboy with the Earth Shatter. Not really going to be using flicker. Wild charge into the back, catching Albert to stop any sort of retreat play from happening. Keyboy with the onward and the Earth Shatter. And Calvin Winata, CW, will be able to pick Gorgeous up. It's a 1-for-1, a kill for a Lord.
Definitely still value for Malaysia though, and immediately everyone scrambles into position to try and manage the minion waves. That was a great play for them to just go straight at it, knowing that they have the crowd control advantage. But they have to be a bit more wary now, especially if they want to go for a prolonged team fight, because we saw in the two fights, the fight before the Lord was taken there, Keyboy on the Edith now is doing quite a significant amount of damage. So you can see Loliel early getting dueled by him. They have to be a bit more careful on the positioning and who takes what damage. But look at this wild charge.
Good wall charge to catch CW, and a diversion does get them up top now as the Spirit of Destruction is in the bottom lane. Loliel will be able to rotate over, but look at that. Keyboy gets isolated completely from the team. The team has basically left him all alone in the bottom lane, and it's going to be Malaysia with the capitalization. Lutpi still kiting away from this Lord as Sans deals some damage back on the Lord. Ooh. And now it's going to be Stormy with the flicker forward, catching CW with the Frigid Glacier, and Skies looks for it, but now Skies will be outplayed with the stun by CW as he buys the Rose Gold Meteor, and Indonesia will still be able to defend. Not even a tier 2 in the mid lane falling just yet.
That was a respectable outplay attempt though by diversion. Now going on to Loliel.
Going for the fight again. Penalty zone catching 2, and CW is going to be compromised. Now with the wild charge 2, it's going to be Sans and CW locked down with Sans. Get a bit of that damage. The Spirit of Destruction connects, and Calvin Winata will be taken now. Lutpi still roasting them in the back as Albert gets slain. Loliel is going crazy with a double kill now as he's looking for Lutpi. One more Mistwalker to the front, but now the last Insanity gets rid of Gorgeous and Yums to claim another few kills for Indonesia. But still, it looks like it's a win for Malaysia.
Both teams just going at it, man. Like we said, the kills are so equal, and actually the gold lead as well is starting to get equalized. It's Malaysia seems to be still winning, especially when it comes to the structures and the map control, but this gold has to be a concern for them now that Indonesia has a lot more spammable abilities in the late game. If they can go for a proper fight without any surprises coming in from Malaysia, it's going to be quite dangerous for them. If you take a look at the damage dealt, the highest damage dealer is actually Lutpi, who is relatively ignored, so he's just flaming everyone down. But on the other side, Gorgeous, who is supposedly a frontliner, is just doing an insane amount here on this Terizla. That is definitely something that Indonesia will struggle to try and deal with, because their main damage dealer, Calvin Winata, has a bit more of a burst style of a hero, so it doesn't really shred through this Terizla as easily.
Slowly but surely, it does seem like Malaysia are outscaling Indonesia, right? Wild charge again into the penalty zone. Keyboy still going to be able to flicker out of that, and that's 2 big ultimates used up for the flicker. Who gets more value out of that trade, Arashi?
Considering that the Lord is just up right here, I think Indonesia technically has a bit more value to be taken, unless they can't really get forced to go for the Lord because of the macro play. The bottom wave getting pushed out. Diversion is available for Suns to bring CW into the fight, but we'll have to see how Indonesia wants to play this.
Okay, Lutpi in the front trying to zone them away now on that X-Borg as Suns gets the conceal of Keyboy to go back into the mid lane to clear this wave, and he will be able to do so. Athena's shield now bought up by Keyboy, so a little bit more sustainable in the skirmish as Albert. You can see that the Lord dance is, not as good as it was before, as the Lord takes so much of your HP away. Albert is down to a quarter of his HP, and now it's Lutpi who's trying to take the turtle or the Lord aggro. And again, So much damage already outputted by the Lord. This new change is definitely changing a few, dynamics in the game. The Lord Dance is so much harder to do. Oh, Keyboy, onward, and Earth Shatter right into that Frigid Glacier. They're all going to be baited into CW. Now in the back, it's going to be Sans who gets taken down by Loliel. CW gets some damage down with Wind of Nature. Will be able to save him, and Loliel gets the outplay onto CW. Loot piece next to the chopping block. The Spear of Destruction connects, and Loliel teleports behind him. The Faraga armor still ready. He will use it to just clear up the wave in the mid lane, but he will not be able to do so. One more cannon minion. They might be able to utilize all of this to go for the game end in game number 1. Just one cannon minion, one more hit to the cannon minion, but it'll be enough for Team Malaysia to secure game number 1.
What a performance, man. That final fight was a complete wipe from the side of Malaysia. Indonesia, unable to do anything, outplayed at every turn. Who would have expected, man? Malaysia just striking first, pushing Indonesia on the back foot.
And it's with Loliel too, right? The guy we were talking about how Loliel is completely different, how he plays to Innocent, the usual lineup for SRG for this team for Malaysia, and Gorgeous as well in place of Cram for SRG for the representatives of Malaysia. And you can see that with Gorgeous, with Loliel, they're still able to be an absolute menace in the Land of Dawn. And I think we saw it there, the fact that Loliel was able to completely outplay CW. CW didn't go for the Wind of Nature, not at all, Rashi. Do you think that was a bit of like a bad decision that CW made to not go for the Wind of Nature going up against a Roger and a Moskov? Because he did go for the Rose Gold Meteor. I definitely get that. Stormy was dealing a whole lot of damage, and that Frigid Glacier is annoying to deal with. But also, that physical damage in the end was what killed him, right? It was the Moskov who was chasing him.
I think he was really banking on the positioning to really avoid that. But against a Moskov, you never really know, right? This was the fight earlier where I was talking about how Keyboy was able to do a lot of damage. But overall, with so much crowd control, so much ways for Malaysia to really deny Indonesia a favorable fight, the penalty zone, the wild charges, the glacier coming in from Stormy as well, you can see that whenever a fight breaks out, they're using these tools not to go for a combo, but to split apart the composition, the formation of Indonesia. And when their vulnerable members are left behind like this, like CW is caught out of nowhere, it makes it very difficult for Indonesia to get a lot of winning fights, a lot of winning situations where they can just stay protected and output that damage. Whereas for Malaysia, especially for Loliel, he has the Purify, he can be a bit more mobile in these fights, more self-protection, and Stormy has the passive on top of his own crowd control so that he can actually match his own when it comes to these very messy fights. So Indonesia, we're trying to use this diversion to really try and get a favorable circumstance to start these fights, but aside from some particular moments, for the most part, Malaysia just had their number, man.
All throughout the fights, I think we could definitely say that, right? I think a few of the misplays definitely did happen as well, because for CW here, he was dealing a lot of damage on the Gorgeous, but he decided to isolate himself from the team, and it kind of left him very, very vulnerable for Skies to just take him out. And again, maybe he kind of miscalculated there, because maybe he thought, the Roger wasn't going to deal that much damage, but it's a 6-1 Roger, right? You've got to expect that at this point of the game. At the 12th minute as well, there were a lot of misplays being made by Indonesia, using the diversion and ending up kind of isolating Keyboy all the way. And here, both of the backliners, both of the damage dealers, it looked kind of good for some time, but then as Gorgeous kept on swinging that hammer, it just looked horrible. And especially considering Loliel was able to land the Spear of Destruction to participate in the skirmish, with Sans and CW already so low, Loliel just went to town.
It seems like Malaysia has completely adapted to the global threat coming in from the diversion. And even here, look at this, Sans just gets immediately like outplayed by Loliel. Yeah. He's been great with the positioning, with the Sphere of Destructions, and his targeting, right? Knowing who to go for and when he has a window to really go for that isolation play.
And here as well, the final play, I think right after Sans gets taken out, they would have still been able to actually, fend off a little bit. But the fact that CW, again, Arashi, the question I asked you, no Wind of Nature, that has to be a question that we have to keep on asking to CW, right? Was that the right call? Because maybe if he did have the Wind of Nature, maybe he would have at least survived. I don't know if he would have been able to completely outplay the situation, but if he survived, the game would have definitely gone on to, later stages. But even then, it'll be kind of tough for Indonesia, right? That's kind of a snowballing comp that they have. They have an X-Work that is pretty good in the later stage of the game, but against the Moskov and a Roger, the two marksman combination, it just seems like the late game was already in favor of Malaysia all the way from the start of the game.
Yeah, they do have a lot more DPS options in the late game, but all things considered, I feel like Malaysia just had so many more playmaking tools. Whenever we talk
Agreed.
about teams that are just so high level, it's all about the playmaking, right? Who can find those moments that can really change the game. And usually we always have our eyes glued on Keyboy for Indonesia. But in this game, he was completely shut down because for the most part, that Grok was just up in his face again and again. And if they want to jump on the Grok, there's just more playmaking tools layered over by Malaysia. So I have to say that this draft from Malaysia, I think was very, very solid. And for Indonesia, it seems like a very familiar draft to us, but we've been talking about how the drafts have been changing. And maybe now it's a time for them to really be pushed to the limit, to try and be forced to try and experiment and come up with something new.
For sure. I think maybe for Team Malaysia, they definitely got the read on the meta a bit better, right? The way that they were playing and their draft as well, their layering of CC was still just more efficient, definitely. Even though they left open the Lo Yi, the fact that the Lo Yi has been nerfed with the diversion, you can definitely see that in the game, right? For Indonesia, the way that we usually see it from Sans is he usually just spams that diversion every single time it's up, utilizing the cooldown that's already very short on that ultimate before the patch to constantly look for different angles. But now with the change, it does seem like they have to kind of like hold themselves off from using the diversion too much. They have to use the diversions in the right plays for the right time. And some of these times they were able to do so, but in the end, again, they still lost out on the team fight. Maybe that's the reason the Lo Yi was left open. Maybe the Lo Yi isn't, a crazy pick anymore. Maybe the Moskov is a bit more prio now. I don't know. Because technically for Malaysia, they were on blue side and they first picked the Roger, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, they first picked the Roger into the Grok and then the Moskov. So they started off with Roger, Grok, Moskov.
I think it's just the lore changes as well makes it so that Lord dancing, holding the Lord like that is just so much more punishable. So for Malaysia, I think the Moskov in particular was just such a value pick because it's not just the damage output, it's also the macro. Having someone that can kind of outplay solo also is kind of secure, but can also join all these fights from so far away and push fast. It's almost like a whole package here for the Moskov that allowed them to really get an advantage and force Indonesia to be the one to really rush the neutral objectives. We saw that when they were able to do so with the turtle, I believe, one of the turtles earlier, they were able to get an advantage. But you can see that when it's a bit slower, when they have to wait around and play along and take some damage from that Lord, they immediately just felt that change and how punishing it was to just be forced into that spot.
Okay, Rashi, but I gotta hit you with the hard hitting questions here now, right?
All
I
right.
mean, yay or nay, Temporal Rain Fredrin?
Right, we haven't addressed that. I think for now, nay. I wasn't sure what the idea was. I know that Fredrin is a very
You gotta use your ult, right?
heavy hero. But yeah, so the thing is, it gives you a reduction when you use the ultimate.
Exactly.
So it's not like once you use it, you just keep getting reductions. It's like a one-time reduction, if I understand the tooltip correctly. So you use it once, you get value, and that's about it though. So technically in a short burst engagement, the Fredrin can get a bit more value, but overall with the back and forth, with the longer fights, I feel like an extra bit of damage, extra bit of healing maybe from the Impure Rage, or maybe even the faster clear speed with the Concussive Blast can be a bit more valuable than that.
I have to agree, man. I think for the Temporal Rain, it might have been a mistake. I don't know if Albert mistapped it, or maybe he actually thought, the Temporal Rain would be a great choice, but we've yet to see it, right? I really hope that we get our doubts erased, our doubts basically taken out of the game after game number 2, because if he does go for the Temporal Rain again and wins on it, then maybe we'll see the brilliance of it. Maybe it's because of the clear in his own jungle. Maybe he can use the when he can use the Appraiser's Wrath and then straight into the clear, right? But even then, I still personally don't really like the Temporal Rain on the Fredrin. We've seen Brave Smites, Impure Rages still, and the normal Concussive Blast, and I think those 3 work a little bit better, especially now. I think the Impure Rage has been rising in popularity a whole lot. Like in the previous match, Cambodia versus Myanmar, 6 players in total in that game went for Impure Rage. That's how many Impure Rages were there in the game. It's like the new QC or the new Brave Smite, you know? Back in the day it was Brave Smite, and then it became QC, and then now it's Impure Rage.
It's the new cool thing that everyone's just buying into. I wonder if like it'll be funny if we kind of maybe ask and the answer was like, oh, the idea is to go in with the Fedrin, Appraiser's Wrath, right? Get like a neutral objective steal, and then with the cooldowns you can kind of like escape. So it's like an in and out like playstyle in theory. It'll be pretty funny to see if it happens. But for now, they have to try and find something that really works here, because on paper, especially for the long duration fights, they were supposed to win it out, but Malaysia just showed that it's not about just the composition, it's how you play it, how much pressure you can have around the map, what kind of flanks you can get. And if you do have everything lining up in your favor, even if your hero selection and composition doesn't really win out on paper, it doesn't matter. They can still get the upper hand.
Yeah, and Yums was definitely, another. He was the core member in that team, always getting these wild charges. I think if it wasn't Yums, it was Gojes, right? Because Gojes, if you take a look at his KD, you definitely think, like, oh my god, this guy's feeding. But if you take a look at the game, he's always there to sacrifice himself to get the penalty zone on the right members and to set up for those wild charges, to set up even for the Roger and obviously, towards the later stage, Loliel and Stormy too. The layering of CC was insane. The fact that they had so much CC, again, Frigid Glacier, penalty zone, wild charge, it all just clumped up together. When you use it, it all layers in for a very, very easy victory, or at least a very easy way for the backliners, the Roger and the Moskov, to deal damage, right? They would, technically, it was all just a setup for the Moskov and the Roger.
On paper at least, but I think you have to also appreciate the fact that they were never really falling into a routine. It's not always a wild charge into a penalty zone and then more follow-up. You saw that on occasion, it was Stormy just flickered forward and just laid out his full combo. So they were still trying to make sure that Indonesia is kept on their toes. They weren't allowed to really fall into a rhythm and kind of get used to the patterns here. So they were just trying to make sure that they were quote unquote as random as possible.
All right, but I think we are going to be taking a look at the last match MVP that is ready. So let's take a look at the last match MVP. Who actually got MVP? What are your predictions, Josh, for the last MVP?
Oh, for my prediction, I think it's Loliel. Well, spoilers, it is going to be Loliel here on the Moskov. I mean, 4-0 and 8. This was a game with a lot of back and forth, a lot of fist fights technically, and he was able to maintain perfect KDA, and he was always in the right place at the right time. And that's even before we talk about the Spear of Destruction accuracy rate. He's always landing those again and again, even in the most critical of moments. So I think this is absolutely well-deserved.
Gotta go, man. He was coming into this lineup, I think, with a lot of doubts because of his performance in NPL Malaysia as well, right? The fact that he was able to show up and play with no new items, he completely ignored the new items. They don't need the Milfic gun. They do. The Sky Piercer, all they need is the pick that were already great from the last patch. Some crazy, what's it called? Global presence with the Spear of Destruction and late game damage, right? He was just able to participate in seeing it out and then up to become a threat that he is.
And of course, with the right tools to purify, the Wind of Nature as well, don't forget, that was a big factor in how in that final engagement, CW was trying his best to try and find a way to deal with him, to try and turn it around. But with the Wind of Nature, there was nothing he could do. And Loliel understands that, and that's, I think, what's impressive. He knows his power levels relatively to the game as well. So he knows when it's time to really go in aggressively, because he has the backup, he has the tools ready to try and make the outplay happen. If he doesn't, he plays a very calculative style too, and just lays back and waits for the right opportunity.
Slowly but surely, just wait for spike, and all even power spike, he was already active, not in the team fights, but just by staying in lane, he was actively getting objectives for the team. Bottom lane turret and then the top lane turret were actually hold up. We're getting ready to get into the draft. I think we are already in the draft, by the way, Rashi.
Right. We're saying 2. It's just that intense, but let's see here. Chip, Moskov banned away for Indonesia. We're seeing a swap here in the pick order, I believe. Nolan, Moskov, and Angela. So you're seeing a lot of respect to the mobility, the clear speed, and the global play that I think Indonesia is really respecting from Malaysia. But they went for the Valentina here. So if Malaysia wants to go for the Lo Yi, that is still available. So technically, they haven't really countered. They haven't really found a way to shut it down just yet. But it seems like Malaysia prefers the Arlet and the Claude. They want that team fight. The team fighting style.
So they completely ignored the Lo Yi, right? And then the Malaysia want to try to layer that damage as well with no Moskov. Now they're placed on the Claude, and now I think it is very, very to actually show up. It's still going to be tough considering there's an Arlet, but the Claude lane is going to be really, really good.
The Claude lane. I mean, if they want to go for that, that option, that is definitely still an option. But I don't know if they want to try and get a winning lane for CW, right? He's been recently notorious for just winning it out on aggressive picks, aggressive heroes. But we'll have to wait and see if they feel like that is the winning solution here. Oh, out of nowhere though, that's gonna be a Beatrix.
Okay, maybe with the new Sky Piercer, or maybe without the new items, right? Maybe the Melphic gun, who knows? But okay, we get the Beatrix pickup with the Grok. So huge emphasis on the Grok now. I think in game number 1, the Grok was able to set the pace and dictate the pace of the game all the way from the start of turtle number 1. I think right as you get in level 4, once you get that wild charge, you just have so many ways to actually go and attack for the turtle, right? You can actually go for the initiation. You can actually just use the wild charge to enable your jungler to pick up the retribution as well. So many different ways to tackle the game. And even at the start, technically with the Guardian's Barrier, you can set up for all these waves to be frozen for your individual laners.
And don't forget those barriers makes a very great source of crowd control technically. But wow, Ling out of nowhere, especially with a vulnerable Beatrix on the side of Indonesia. This is a big problem. Malaysia pulling this out. I guess Mirko called it, but now it's in the Land of Dawn.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of Ling from Indonesia as well. So very interesting that they didn't decide to pick it up for themselves in the first phase. Because usually for Albert and for Indonesia, they're really confident to actually pull off the Ling. But now with the Ling picked up by Team Malaysia, they have to start setting up for it. They have to try to take away as much mid control or maybe even jungle control as possible. Maybe getting rid of the Baksha would be a good option because the Baksha could actually start to invade very early on in the game. And yeah, that's another good choice. The Masha too. Someone that can actually just get so much more pressure in the XP and then start rotating over as the damage dealer to start thunderclapping some of these players. Because I think everyone on this team, by the way, from Team Malaysia, Arlet, Ling, and Claude, they don't do too well against the Masha.
And I think considering how they've been playing, it makes sense, right? The fact that they want to have someone just pushing on the side lanes, relatively secure, not really susceptible to just getting destroyed 1v1. Banning away the Masha is a big part in making sure that that doesn't happen for them. So great ban, value ban for them, but now for Indonesia, they're faced with the global presence coming from a Ling this time, and usually we see either a suppression being used to try and control that Ling, or we can see like an EXP laner that can really match that kind of pressure. So we have to see what Indonesia will go for. But they've renovated Terizla, so they recognize the how troublesome Gorgeous is for them to deal with, right? The big penalty zones, the sustainability, I think, more than anything, was just so annoying to deal with for Indonesia in game 1.
And I think for sure for Gorgeous, he definitely has a few different heroes to pick up as well. I mean, even if the Terizla gets banned out, maybe they can go for something like a Lapu Lapu as well, right? This is kind of the same idea. It's a playmaker. You want to go in with the bravest fighter to just enable for the team. And it's going to be the Julian ban, actually, from Team Malaysia. Maybe taking a few of some data away from MPL ID, the grand finals and the playoffs there with the Julian picked up by Fnatic Onyx, but it was a different player. It wasn't Albert, right? This can actually still pull in here in this game, or they might actually just be forced to go back to the utility. If they do go to utility around Rashi choice, would it just be for something like a fighter is alpha, but probably not alpha, right? There's not enough tanky members on the side of Malaysia to go for the alpha. But okay, that's a troll ban, actually, respecting Yums.
Okay, so to answer your question for the jungler, I don't know, man. I think it has to be some kind of utility jungle pick because, as you mentioned, if it's a damaging jungler, especially for the alpha, yeah, the true damage does get a bit quote unquote wasted if it's put into this composition against this composition. So I think it's definitely something that can really help out with the layering of crowd control. Because if Keyboy is going to be playing that Grok, we saw how effective it was for Malaysia, but only when there is other options that can be put in the back of the minds of Indonesia. And we're seeing a Loyi picked in the second phase. So they have the Ling, now they have the Loyi. Indonesia needs to respond with something, man. Something to deal with this macro threat.
And this time there's much more synergy for the Loyi, right? There's an Arlet and there's also a Claude. So technically with the Claude, you can utilize the diversion and put the battle mirror image behind you, and then you can go to a different lane and teleport back with the battle mirror image. That's been the combo that we've been seeing. But again, maybe with the new diversion cooldown, maybe you might not see that, but the Hayabusa with the Ruby gets locked in. That's the assassin that we were expecting, at least in game number 1, and Indonesia decide in game number 2, it's time to rock it. And it seems for Lutfi, he will be given that Ruby pick in the XP.
Man, Hayabusa in the hands of Albert? We haven't seen this in a while. There are, of course, ways to counter it, and especially in the 1v1s, I'm curious to see how this plays out, right? Hayabusa against the Ling. I think it becomes like a bit of a skill matchup. The Ling probably has more damage output without using the ultimate, I guess. But even with the ultimate, there is outplay here with the Tempest of Blades as well. So I think 1v1 isn't the idea here. It's about trying to find ways to get in the back line. Or it's who can actually use their ultimate and then go for retribution when they're in that immune phase. We've talked about this somewhat a while back, Mirko, actually.
Okay, but it seems there's going to be a swap here in terms of the roam, at least, right? For the Grok and the Edith, swapping sides from Indonesia to Malaysia, from Malaysia to Indonesia. Yums was on the Grok in game number 1. If you guys are just tuning in, and it is 1-0 to Malaysia right now. They have a chance to clean sweep Indonesia. But Arashi, let's take a look at the drafts again. What do you think? Who do you think has the better drafts? Is the Valentina Beatrix the way to go, and the Hayabusa as well?
Oh man, I feel like when it comes to the back and forth, I feel like now Indonesia has a bit more of an advantage, actually. For Malaysia, I feel like they're the ones who are going to be forced to be a bit more decisive in how they want to move. If they go for a diversion play, or if they send the Arlet or the Edith a bit forward to try and threaten and engage, if they don't really get it, they can get punished very, very easily. So let's just get into the line of dawn for game number 2. Will Malaysia get a clean sweep, or will Indonesia push them into a full 3-game series? Ladies and gentlemen, game 2.
Let's see if the equalizer happens here, or if it's a clean sweep. But looking at the emblems, it does seem like it's already going to be a bit different here. No temporal rain this time around, at least not for Indonesia. I didn't get the chance to actually take a look at Malaysia. But okay, Hayabusa versus Ling. This matchup is definitely going to be an interesting one, right? Because on paper, I think if it's a pure 1v1, the Ling has a bit of an advantage. You can actually escape from the shadow kill while you're on the Tempest of Blades, and Sans and Stormy already going at it very early on. Seems Stormy will be able to get that win in the fights. Barrier, though, placed down by Keyboy. They might actually be looking to zone Stormy all the way back. They are successful at doing that. Straight into the lethal that they claim for themselves.
The early game Valentina play, and you always need to mention Sans when you're talking about the Valentina. It's just a different way he plays it, and he can be very creative with which ultimate he decides to really go for right here. So now Yums is still trying to do what he did in game 1, and going on to Albert.
Onward flicker now, and Albert going to be caught in the Tempest of Blaze, and first blood over to Malaysia. Albert punished very early on, but Sans now with the flicker forward as well will be able to claim one. Sky's going to be next on the chopping block, but he's able to get into the Defiant Blaze, looking for another one. Finch Boys, and he gets out. Well played. The Skies with CW somehow is able to get the kill. I think he didn't even use the flicker. He just walked up and gunned him down from the walls.
Shot down from the sky. CW reading his escape patterns. Great communication from Indonesia to corral Seki's Skies to a death there, even though he made the clean escape. But Albert trying to make sure he keeps up with the farm. But look at Malaysia, man. They're just a lot more active. And now with the neutral objective already up, both teams going for a bit of a clear contest, but Indonesia will be able to clear out first.
That will mean that they will get level 4 first, but with Albert having no purple buff, I'm not even sure if they actually want to go for this contest this early on. Diversion already towards that bush there. Gojes will be able to get a very good position. Earth Shatter going to be used up, but not onto anyone. That's the turtle. Reset it again. Wild charge onto the back now with the Primal Rat stolen away. Sans dealing a whole lot of damage, and Gojes will be taken out. Skies looks for the play. Yums with the Earth Shatter, knocking up Sans, but now Albert's going to be targeted down. As Albert, will he be able to escape? Tempest Blaze knocks him up. Skies not able to get the last hit, but it's going to be the Primal Rat coming in from Yums, and it's an all-out win again for Malaysia. Skies gets out just barely there with 1 HP and secures the Sky Piercer too.
Oh man, Sky Piercer in the hands of this Ling. Definitely not ideal for Indonesia. It was going so well for them, but it almost seems like the engage was a bit too early. Keyboy went for the wild charge, and everyone kind of had to walk up a bit more to really follow up on it. That small window allows Malaysia to really come back and trade back the play. And you can see the Primal Wrath damage is great in the hands of Sans, but you can't forget Yums can also deal a lot of damage there, as both teams actually are still taking this neutral objective very, very slow. It's like the fights are more important than the objective itself.
Well, they are 2 assassins, right? It is 2 assassins in the game. Maybe the neutral objective might not play as big of a role compared to the usual utility role. But Lutpi is the one who takes the turtle aggro. Flicker, final slash now committed only onto Lutpi though. As Yums pops in onward. Earth Shadow Flicker knocking Albert up. He does still have the quad shadow, and he does go in. Retreat battle going to be used up, as that's going to be Albert winning it out with the help of the wild charge, and now jumps back onto Yums with the shadow kill. Sans picks up the kill, but it is going to be Keyboy that is traded in. Sky's already very low, and Sans is looking to go for that one last hit to take him down, but Skies will choose the defensive route. Lutpi still hovering over now onto Gojes. It does seem like for Indonesia, they will take that small win for the roamer, just traded for the kill. And Lutpi in the bottom lane. Perhaps a 1v1 here as Gojes goes in and blazing away up top. CW will be taken down. No, he's still able to survive for a bit. And there you go, the last few shots from Loliel to take CW down.
Fortunately for CW, though, he did clear the wave out, so he won't be losing out on any real any farm, EXP, and gold. But man, fights all across the map. Oh, Albert with the happy feet, but he's gonna get jumped on.
Okay, has the quad shadow to go all the way back, but the dispersion and the rotation will be able to catch him. Skies jumps in, the shadow kill is used up by Albert, and now gets caught with the Finch Poise as the wild charge only connects on a Stormy. The Tempest of Blaze has been used to actually go at it. Stormy taken very low, still able to flicker out to safety as Lutpi will be caught. The final slash brings him back into the tier 1 turret, and he's able to get the 3-man I'm offended right into Sans, but the onward brings him back on the Skies to get the Defiant Blade. Now it's going to be Keyboy in the midst of it all. Caught Sans, still dealing a lot of damage, and the conceal will be used defensively. Sans the flicker as well, and gets 1 kill. No one traded in, and now it's going to be Sans who gets shut down as well. Malaysia getting all the skirmish. Victory CW! What a good snipe with the Renner's apathy.
That was a diversion to go back to base or to rotate from Stormy, but that just painted a target on his back. CW capitalizing on it. Small victory to trade back, but overall, Malaysia does seem to have the control over this game, man. When they want to fight, they will get it. And Indonesia, you're seeing that they were just kind of lost on occasion. Even though Sans tries his best to really match it out, he has 4 kills in his pocket. But for the most part, you can see how difficult it is for him to chase down the members of Malaysia to finally get 1 or 2 kills in the midst of all these really long engagements.
And now it comes down to maybe how they utilize CW and Sans, because Albert, he's quite a bit behind, but actually in terms of level, he's not too far behind. He's still on the same level as Sky, as this Lutpi again takes the turtle aggro in the bottom lane. There's a diversion. Look for a flank on the Lutpi, and they go into Albert! Onward onto the Earth Shatter. Albert's still able to pop in the quad shadow in time as Lutpi goes into re-engage, wild charge, catching 2. But now, no full re-engage now as Gojes is going to be missing out of the final slash, and the shadow kill deals with him. Tempest of Blades on the Lutpi, but he's still able to escape, and Skies will be gunned down by Sans and the Primal Wrath, taking him out of that wall right there. Stormy very low, CW flickers forward, gets the gun down, and now it's Yums who's going to be sandwiched in the base, or in the turret, rather. Tier 1 down below. CW takes him out with a Bennett.
Look at Loliel, though, being active on the other side, even taking the mid turret down. It's a great win for Indonesia, but Malaysia gives nothing back for free. Wow. Taking away that mid turret will be very beneficial, especially with the diversions they've been trying to go for. It's unfortunate for them, though, that they got roped into that chase to try and secure Albert, because they kind of got stuck on Lutpi. It was able to just delay them for that much longer. Looking at the items though, has claws on top of the Sky Piercer for Skies will mean that he can really hold his own in a longer prolonged battle. But Loliel, one more item to go for the full-on power spike. That is what I think Malaysia will be definitely waiting for.
Slowly but surely, Indonesia building that gold lead back, but it's still just technically even, right? It's a 500 gold lead, still very insignificant despite the 2 turtles. But fun fact for you guys, this game, I guess we're only going to be getting 2 turtles, right? Usually, we're very used to just seeing 3 turtles with the utility jungle meta, but with the assassins, I guess 2 turtles is more of the norm. No one can really focus and commit down onto these neutral objectives, as Gojes actually uses the vengeance a bit aggressively onto Sans and will be punished quite a bit with that glowing wand. But it's a Sky Piercer BOD start for CW. So, is he going to try to just look for these burst downs, look for these pickoffs? Is he playing with the Bennett more than the Renner? I'm not too sure, actually.
I think for Indonesia, the Wild Charge Bennett's Rage combo will be what you're looking at, and the execute will be great for any spell, but Gojes alone now.
Yeah, that's a 3-man final slash, but CW just guns him down. That Sky Piercer doing work. You can definitely see the execution there. And CW's online, 5-1. Both CW and Sans, actually.
But here's the problem for Indonesia. Even if they can really match out the team fight situation, look at Skies. He's still pushing right now. And no one can really stop him. Even if Indonesia wants to send their EXP laner to stop this macro play, Lutfi cannot match up to the macro presence of a Ling. And that's even before talking about the diversion play. So Malaysia will definitely have that as an advantage constantly. And this will be a bit of a deja vu situation to game 1. Indonesia are the ones that will be forced to go for a proper committed fight. But look at that, with a conceal already used by Malaysia, Indonesia has a chance here to make a surprise play.
Wait, how is Albert a level ahead of Skies? Lutfi, I'm offended, able to catch Yums right into the first final slash, brings them back, but Albert is able to pop in the quad shadow just in time. Lutfi will be taken down now. CW does some damage back. Albert to the back shadow kill, getting 2 kills on the board. That's both of the assassins picking up a double kills. Albert looks for more, but Stormy gets rid of him with a shutdown. And Team Malaysia wins it out. CW now with the Wesker, trying to go for the assassination onto Gojes, but will decide to just dash backwards again. It's Team Malaysia with a big team fight win, and CW, I don't think he can contest this, not alone.
It was a cheeky play to go with the Wesker to try and get and execute. Deja vu to a couple of seasons back where that was a very common strategy. But Malaysia, with such a decisive win, they're gonna go straight for the Lord. Indonesia won't be there in time, man, but P-Boy is gonna force something. Okay.
Doesn't seem like they will. Diversion gets spotted. Keyboy pops into Power with Nature. And just like that, Malaysia decide not to take it. They got the Lord. There's no real reason for them to go for the fight right now. They can just play as slow as they can. It's a 1,000 gold lead that will definitely be building. They have Ling. They have Claude. They can scale.
That's unfortunate for Indonesia, man. They were in position first. They were the ones to try and make the play happen. But in that big fight, Gojes, that was a massive final slash that really kind of ruined the formation of Indonesia and resulted in everything just getting so chaotic. Albert was able to pick up a kill and was having some kind of presence in that fight, but unfortunately, it's just so much more limited compared to Skies right now, at least for now. Now, with all 3 waves just being managed by Malaysia, there's, like you said, Mirko, playing it slow. They know that there's no rush at all. They want to make sure that they get as much as possible. Maybe even a diversion here.
Going towards the bottom side of the map. Yums is already hovering over, trying to get a big pick, maybe onto CW or Lutfi. They try to deal with this Lord. It seems that tier 2 will be given away. It's a bit too risky to defend all the way into tier 2 because Gojes also has ways to actually displace them with that final slash, but they will be able to deal with that Lord. Still with a mid tier 2 intact. Indonesia defending this time, but Malaysia finding crazy value with that Lord. Ooh. Oh, wild charge? Into the Bennett's Rage? No, they don't decide to go for it. Good flicker out from Yums to evade from that. The onward as well is to open up that bush again. And now in the mid lane, they're trying to go for the clear as well. But man, Malaysia, straight with the Primal Wrath. They know how to utilize their resources so well. Lutfi, I'm offended, gets knocked out by the Earth Shatter as well. No real engage now, as that's going to be Skies who jumps in onto Lutfi again. Dealing some damage, taking him to a quarter of his HP. And Albert, his purple buff is being threatened away. Now it's the final slash to connect onto Albert. He's still able to get out with the quad shadows. Keyboy gets gunned down by the blazing duet, and Lippy is able to survive, but it's a win for Skies. I think he took the purple buff away from Albert, but I have to look at Albert before I can really confirm.
You have to wait for the visual confirmation. You're seeing Wind of Nature's built in for, at this point, both the gold laners. But for Malaysia, man, I think the response whenever Indonesia makes a play has been just so phenomenal. Every single time there's been a big ultimate, a big catch attempt from Indonesia, Malaysia just has the right responses again and again. If you're looking at the damage dealt, Sans definitely is one of the main damage dealers. CW is more of a burst hero, but it is diversion play just to send Lolio to go for a clear. Is he gonna come back? Nope. Didn't set up for that play, but that's the macro play that Malaysia still has at their disposal. They've been doing all this without really relying on any crazy big diversion plays.
All right, dealing some damage, poking Yums down. That's a slow push built up by Malaysia up top, and Yums will be opening it up right into the Bennett, doing a lot of damage, taking his immortality down as Keyboy pops into Power of Nature, but Lippy will be caught, has a flicker. Lolio goes in and now purifies, and when Nature's out, Finch poised into the back, dealing some damage, but look at Sans doing some damage as well, back onto him. Albert with the quad shadow. Albert gets the kill. CW, pops into Wind of Nature and is able to kite away. One more shot, Stormy gets it. Sans will be able to catch him though, and he pops the winner crown to get out with the diversion, but it's a 2-for-1 in favor of Indonesia.
That was mildly surprising. Wow. I thought Malaysia definitely had it in the bag with all the control, but Indonesia, they found a way with the targeting, with the crowd control to find that back, the damage dealers from the side of Malaysia. And that was an absolute win. And even afterwards, directly going onto the Lord. Let's take a look at what exactly happened right there earlier. Wow.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get to see the replay, unfortunately, but now it's how they are actually preparing for... Oh, there you go. Now it's the replay, Rashi.
No, it's still low. You just go in and do damage. And the same way he did, Skies also went in to go for it. But Albert, just taking advantage of the mobility that Hayabusa brings, goes in, and CW as well. It's almost like when Malaysia are responding, they have all the right responses for Indonesia. But right there, when they're the ones to initially go in for a massive dive, it's a whole different story. But Lutpi already taken out. Now Yums with the conceal.
Yeah, and the diversion into the back means that they can actually look for a flank. Yums are shattered. Yums gets a knock up onto CW and Keyboy. And that's 3 on the board for Team Malaysia. But take a look at the enhanced Lord that's just doing so much damage on the base, getting the base turn as well. Sans almost taking Lolio down, forced to go with the battle mirror image back again as Sans pops into Primal Rat, now walking up onto Yums. Albert walks up as well, has a shadow kill, decides to pop it in, and is able to get out of the skill 1 coming down from Gorgeous. And technically, Indonesia get a lot of value in terms of turrets. They get a base turret in the far lane, but in terms of kills, yeah, they lost that one.
What's in Indonesia and Lords, man? There's always some interesting Lord happenings whenever Indonesia is in the picture. All things considered, even though Malaysia had a great sequence there, a great catch, great team fight, they lost the base turret, and it's on the far side, away from the next Lord. That could prove to be fatal. Let's take a look at the items here, though. Sans, especially with the Blood Wings and the Lightning Truncheon, he has a lot of burst damage on top of the potential to go with the Primal Wrath. So now, especially if you're a backline or an assassin on the side of Malaysia, you gotta be a bit more careful because, you know, Sans will be waiting to try and do something just unpredictable.
All right, once again for Indonesia, it seems they're just trying to go and take this purple buff away. Sans dashes forward, but Skies will be able to retreat, securing it for himself as CW gets that blade of the Heptases. And now I really want to take a look at the items, right, for Indonesia and Malaysia in the 16th minute of the game. It's a very small gold lead, but at this point, what is a gold lead even, right? It's technically 50-50, but the structure... How is this going to play into the next Lord, Arashi? The fact that the base turret in the far lane was taken down by the Lord.
I think considering that Indonesia also have great engage tools to really start a fight off, it's going to be dangerous for Malaysia, but they're chasing Sans a bit too far there. You can see Indonesia setting up a trap potentially. They have control over the Lord already. And with that far side, just pushing constantly. Ooh, gorgeous. Ooh.
Oh, wow, good vengeance. Actually use the vengeance to get out away from the I'm Offended. Well played to Gorgeous, and that really just gave Malaysia, I would say a breath of fresh air, right? They were. If Gorgeous was picked off, that would have been maybe a free enhanced Lord.
But now it's back to the waiting game, and with CW having the Sky Piercer, the Malefic as well, a lot of burst damage in his arsenal if they get too low, if Malaysia get too low from the Lord right here. So they need to be careful, and you can see that they're the ones who are forced to play around with the Lord right here, knowing that the bottom lane is shoving again and again. Guys with the Endless Battle will be having a bit more burst potential, but you can see Indonesia now are the ones playing it super patient, no real necessity, and Malaysia are even using the diversion to certain scout for information there.
It does seem like that's the case, and the far lane and the bottom lane is still going to be there. Albert going to be chasing these Skies! Able to win on the retry battle. CW gets rid of Gorgeous, and now it's going to be Albert that's taken down by Skies. Well played! What a retry! He walks up and it's comboed together with the final slash of Gorgeous.
Man, that Gorgeous I think was the real MVP in that fight though. Landing that final slash on Albert, it was at such a critical moment with everyone just waiting to deny him that opportunity. But Malaysia has done it. They take the Lord away from Indonesia, and now they have, once again, the empowered waves to try and make these plays happen. They're up against a Valentina and a Beatrix though, so the wave clear for Indonesia is definitely something that they still have to try and prolong this game even longer. But we've seen how Malaysia plays, how Gorgeous and Yums have been so active. They can try and go for a fight and catch Indonesia off guard before they can even set up for a proper defense. We'll have to see how this goes.
Okay, they're actually trying to just put it away, but item-wise, Arashi, before the siege, how is it looking?
With the Divine Glaive, with the Crown as well, Stormy is all set up to try and make the most daring of plays all the way in the front line. And with Loliel just trying to finish up his final item right here, he might be able to get it by the time the Lord reaches the base of Indonesia. Okay, there you go. Immortal in his pocket as well. They're just gearing for a full ditch effort, and they have the diversion into outside the map play if they want to go for it.
Let's see, man. They bring Gorgeous away, but he's all alone, can't find the final slash, goes in with a Vengeance, and will be CC'd down with I'm Offended as well, and the Vengeance will not be enough to get him out of there, and it'll be Gorgeous taken out. And for Indonesia, they'll be able to defend this. That means that they can actually just get rid of the Lord as Malaysia disengage with the Conceal.
All in all, Malaysia equalizing on the base turret situation, but man, Gorgeous was left alone right there, and Keyboy gets out with the wild charge for now, but that won't be up for a while. So now Malaysia can once again control the vision, the information, and now there's no longer a way for Indonesia to match it.
Oh, there was an onward by Malaysia earlier, and now we're going to take a look at the replay, but I really wonder what's going on in the team fight right now, and it looks like Skies is going to be able to jump into the back. Lutpi going to be taken down. Skies again with a double kill as he finds all the blades. A diversion to the back will mean that Stormy will try to look for an angle. Skies hovering over. That's 2 for 1, but the 1 was already earlier. Shadow kill on the Stormy, but it's onto the minions as well. Gorgeous buys the immortality, and for Stormy, he was able to just walk that minion wave.
When you thought you were gonna see a bit of a replay, but no, Malaysia says, hang on, there's more. Finally here, we take a look at a bit of a replay. Lutpi there is getting jumped on, and unfortunately for Indonesia, they were trying to go for a proper fight right there, but in the back line, man, the fact that there's so many immunity tools for Malaysia, once again, is something that they are absolutely abusing.
For sure, and now that base turret almost gets taken down by the cannon minion. Lutpi and Sans will be respawning back in the Atlanta Dawn, but I don't know if it's going to be in time here. It seems from Malaysia, they're just going to go for the burst straight onto the Lord. And CW, will he try to go for the Renner Apathy Steal? Doesn't seem like they'll be able to. Skies gets it again. That's a retry battle win as Indonesia look to go for a team fight, but Malaysia are just way too clean. They get the Lord, they back away, and now in the 21st minute, this might be the final Lord of the game.
Possibly the beginning of the end right here for Indonesia, as the Malaysians with a full inventory slot on almost everyone. Even the Queen's Wings in the hands of Yums, he is geared for an all-out fight to decide this once and for all. Diversion.
Oh, 3 members are going to take it. Sans will be able to read it. Does some damage onto Lolila, but so far only 1 wave is pushing down. CW has the Bennett. Gorgeous is looking to displace them, and Lippy is bringing the Lord all the way up top as Albert deals with the wave up top as well. Now another wave in the bottom lane coming down as Lippy is going to be taken very low. I'm offended with the final splash. Catches all of them with a blazing duet. They'll be able to dish out some damage. Demir's passion used up as well as Albert now goes in with the bases wide open, and they're just going to go for it straight up. Malaysia clean sweep Indonesia 2-0.
Malaysia, what was that? Indonesia taken out without any chance of retaliation, showing again why they've been feared by so many other teams, man. Malaysia announcing to the world, like, we are an absolute contender and you will pay if you don't take us seriously. Wow.
Man, Sky's on the Ling as well. The fact that he was able to perform at that level, right? The way that he was assassinating people, but especially the retribution, Arashi, from Skies. What a phenomenal game. What a phenomenal performance for Team Malaysia. And this is what the hype is all about, Arashi. We've been hearing back and forth all throughout the MLBB world that for this team in particular, man, they've been monsters in scrims. And for the most part, most people have doubted them. Have been saying, you know, it's just in scrims. They're probably not as good on stage. They're probably not as good in the main tournament. But here, they definitely showed, at least against Indonesia, that they are able to clean sweep Indonesia, taking it quite convincingly. We'll take a look at the highlights here, Arashi.
You can see that even from the beginning, Yums, again, it might be the experience, it might just be his style, but he's always finding ways to sneak into the jungle and always be a thorn in the side of Indonesia's team right here. Always active again and again, and that is part of why they've been able to contest so much ground, get so much control around the map. And afterwards, whenever Indonesia again makes a play, the response from Malaysia has always been so good in this game. They have the AoE, they have the damage, and like you mentioned, for Skies, it's not just the retribution, it's the aggression he's able to use, is how he's able to maneuver around the map. The decisions in the split seconds of these fights are always so good. And that's something we usually talk about for Indonesia. That's usually a lot more scrappy, a lot more fight heavy in a more calculated fashion. But Malaysia has shown that now, that's something you can say absolutely for Malaysia as well.
So clean all throughout the game, and I think here as well, I think Skies, right, all the way from the early game, the fact that he was able to get the kill onto Albert and then constantly do that. Albert was having a real tough game this whole game, all the way from the start even to the mid game, and we did see for a bit he was able to kind of recover, but it wasn't really enough to take the momentum away from Skies. And I think it was a certain point in the game where I actually mentioned that it's interesting to see Albert being 1-5 but still ahead in levels compared to Skies, but in gold it was still definitely Skies. We get to see a beautiful Renner's Apathy there onto Stormy, by the way. And let's take a look at the team fight, because this is, I think, the only team fight, or one of the only team fights that Indonesia won.
Well, it began with everyone kind of circling around, just waiting for, finding a way to really get into the backlines of Indonesia particularly. But by doing that, they kind of made Stormy kind of stuck out in a weird situation. And here, man, Gojas against every single time he gets caught, even when he's kind of just picked off, it seems like it's always something more, you know, you're always kind of worried about the next follow-up. And you can see it here again. His final slashes in this game have been absolutely critical for Malaysia to really have that edge in these fights. And as a result of that, Indonesia are forced to kind of use a lot of their resources, not for outplays, not to try and do anything extra, but just to try to kind of equalize and recover from the initial displacement or the initial shock of the crowd control. And you can see afterwards, Malaysia thought that, okay, we're winning so much, you have to try and capitalize on the momentum. But you can see that when they're using so much to try and go forward, it's almost like Indonesia are the ones that are in Malaysia's shoes in the team fights that are going like this, because the backliners, especially Stormy, can't really follow up as well. So you have to remember, when these assassins dive in like that, the whole team doesn't automatically follow through with them.
It's all about the positioning as well, right? Because we were talking about how, you know, they got the Lord, they got the enhanced Lord at that point of the game, and it looked like that was going to be the momentum that they would utilize to at least make the game go even further or take some advantages. And they were able to do so technically with the far lane, but all right, let's give some props over to Gojas, though, for this wonderful setup for Skies to just come in and retry, right? Because you're right. I think you definitely got to give more of a highlight to Gojas in that particular fight, because if it wasn't for the final slash, it would have been more 50-50. Maybe Albert would have been able to win that out. But because Go just went in, sacrificed himself almost technically there, and got Sky so much more room to go for the clean retry, it was so good. And here, dude, the fact that Yums, he didn't decide to go back. He decided to flicker forward. This guy has been so good for SRG, and now he continues to be good for Team Malaysia. It's so awkward the way that he plays the game, right? Like, most people would actually flicker backwards or maybe would disengage after getting that low. But he decides, no, I'm going to create a line for my backline to deal damage properly. And that was what kind of got them the win there. I think at that point as well, Indonesia kind of had a few resources ready to go for a fight. And if they all dove in towards the backline, it would have changed something. But player of the match here, Rashi.
Well, player of the match is going to be Stormy here, 4-2 and 12. And he was making the macro plays with the diversion, but even in the team fights, his positioning, knowing that there are assassins around, knowing that he's a vulnerable target, he's always been a lot more bold in his positioning. But looking at how Yums was playing, like you're mentioning, Mirko, I think it's part of why he was able to do that, part of why he even dared to do that, is the fact that there's great communication and trust in this team. He knows that if he walks up and he gets jumped on, it will come at a price to Team Indonesia, and his team will absolutely capitalize. And that is what I think they've been using, right? If whenever they kind of give something up, they know that it's fine because I know that my team will try and get something in turn. And that just leads to such clean, such calculated gameplay. And unless something really unexpected happens, they just seem so stoic, man. They don't seem flustered at all.
They really do, man. And again, for Stormy, what a phenomenal performance here by him. Well played, but really for every single member on Team Malaysia, I think everyone really played well, right? We can't really just say that it was just Stormy. He was player of the match. He did, create some diversions to actually give the team a lot of different angles of attack, but we gotta give props to everyone else on the team. Gorgeous. He was sitting on the bench for the most part for SRG and MPL Malaysia, for the fact that he is starting for Team Malaysia and he's doing so well after, again, sitting on the bench, right? Most people thought, this guy is not going to perform, especially here, considering he's been on the bench for so long, but he proved the doubters, the haters wrong for sure. Even Loliel had a phenomenal performance. He leveled up by so much, and we're seeing a different level entirely from Team Malaysia right now.
It's just such a scary situation to be in because, like, usually Malaysia, great surprising moments, but they're kind of too flustered. But now they're just a bit more calculated, a bit more, crafty with their aggression. And I think that's scary news for any team all across the world. But Malaysia is your winner. So Malaysians at home, it's your time to celebrate. And it's definitely a big statement, beating Indonesia out of nowhere and in a clean sweep fashion.
It's the group stages though. By the way, for everybody watching right now, if you guys want to see exactly how the groups are looking right now based on the few matches that we have seen from this win from Malaysia against Indonesia and some of the off-screen matches, because there are matches that are being broadcast, or technically not broadcast, there are matches that are being played right now off-screen, and you can see the live results at www.iesf.gg to check as to who's leading in the groups for Group A and also for Group B. But I think with that win, Malaysia sits very, very comfortably at first place now, and Indonesia will have to get a win against Vietnam to actually go and I think qualify from the group stages to the playoff matches.
But I think we have a bit of a special guest here. We might have an interview with the Malaysian side. Do you know who it is, Mirko?
Of course I do, man. Hello, Coach Arcadia. How are you doing?
Hi, Mirko. Hi, Arashi. I'm doing great. Hi.
All right. Well, I guess I'll ask the first question here, Arashi, right?
Sure.
Arcadia, I think you're not new to this kind of like stage as well. But I want to ask, for the most part, everywhere in the world, a lot of people have been saying, the hype for SRG, the hype for Team Malaysia, they're overrated. They're good in scrims, the general consensus, but how are they going to perform on stage? And here, you kind of proved to the world that Malaysia is ready for the international trophies, for the international tournament. So what do you think? What do you want to say to all those haters or the doubters?
I think for the haters and doubters, I just respect their opinions because every people sometimes have their own opinion. So we just want to don't focus on these distractions, and then at the same time just focus on our gameplay, our own play style, and just make sure that we keep improving each day. So basically, that's our main focus on our own. Yeah.
Wise words from Coach Arcadia. But the fact that you were able to beat Indonesia 2-0, a lot of people across the world have been thinking it's going to be at least somewhat close, at least if you can win, it's going to be a 2-1, but it's a 2-0. What do you have to say to all these people who have been claiming like, no way, impossible, 2-0?
Yes, we're very thankful for this win. I believe we're very fortunate that we got this sweep. Because to be honest with you, Arashi, going into these IESF qualifiers kind of challenging for us because as you can see, we cannot go full SRG, right? Because we also have imports. So the training was really challenging to fit for our MSC schedule because we need to practice for MSC also. So our training was very limited going to the qualifiers. I mean, for the IESF team, it was very limited. So we're just happy that we were still able to get the win, and I just want to give a props to my players, and then also to Becky, my co-coach, and then just want to say their hard work is really paid off.
Yeah, I think we can definitely see that hard work pay off here in this performance, right? But what is your vision? Because you said, you got a limited time to practice for this tournament. You're practicing for a different tournament as well. Firstly, I mean, how do you balance that, right? You said what's the priority set at, by the way, right? Like there's this and there's MSC. How do you balance all that? It's crazy.
Yes, it's really it's challenging, but we just if I'm gonna be honest, our scrim is like one scrim for IESF, like that. That's how our training schedule is. But we're really working overtime for us to perform at both of the tournaments, the MSC and then this qualifier. So we just really working hard at this past few weeks.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, Coach Arcadia. Do you have a final message right here to all the supporters, the fans from Malaysia, that has been just so passionately supporting you so far?
I just want to thank all of the fans that are supporting us, and also to my family, friends, and loved ones, and also to all of our supporters of my players. And also, I just want to say thank you to all MPL community for supporting us in this journey, and hopefully we qualify going to Riyadh.
All right. Well, again, thank you, Coach Arcadia. With that, I think we'll end the interview right
Thank you,
there.
Coach.
Thank you so much, and good luck in the future as well, sir. See you around.
Thank you.
Congratulations
Thank
on the
you.
win, man.
Man,
Always such a
cool
stand-up
guy.
dude, man. Yeah, right? Like, dude, I mean, it has been a trend here, Arashi, for IESF. All the interviews, people have been actually talking like humans, unlike the normal interviews that we do.
Like
where,
humans?
yeah, these players usually, they answer us like robots, Arashi, right? But I'm glad to see
Right.
that, we can finally get to hear some of their thoughts, some of their actual opinions.
I mean, it's always nice to actually get some info, right? Some kind of, insight to how they're feeling, what they're thinking. But I think with that, Mirko, we're going to head towards a break there. It's been an intense match, and I think we need a bit of a break just so we can go full power for the next match. So ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be right back after this short break.